Hello and welcome back to the Boat Shed. My name is John and this boat behind me is Antidote. She's a 1989 Liberty 458 and we're doing a full restoration of this boat. In today's video we're doing some fiberglass repair, some fiberglass installation, removing an old holding tank, and stick around to the end of the video where I come clean about a very annoying mistake. My initial thought with some of these holes in the lower skin was just to leave them because I would be trying to relocate and reuse them. The more I think about it, I think it just makes sense to cover them now with some glass. I am going to try to put one more layer on this to stabilize the whole thing and also hopefully fill any pinholes that might exist, so I can hopefully try to use vacuum to bag down the new core, at least in this area. We'll see how that works. So right now we're going to work on just filling these back in. The big holes, I'll probably put a piece of plastic underneath to kind of hold that shape. I have this file folder which has a reasonably stiff plastic that I can put on the bottom to just sort of support the shape. And then the smaller holes I'll probably just use tape again. We'll ferre all these out, get a nice scarf on them, and get ready to fill them in. Before I get too far charging ahead with covering up these old holes, it's always best practice to take account of your measurements before you cover them up. So I'm using the bow of the boat as the baseline for these measurements, and this right angle square helped me to line everything up fore and aft so I can capture the original locations. Before I start grinding out this glass, I'm just checking the bottom skin thickness one more time. It's about 120 thousandths of an inch, so I know I need 2 to 3 layers of 1708 to scarf into these old holes. So I'm just making some measurements and then drawing out some guides for the grinder as I get ready to hit these holes. Some people have pointed out that an angle grinder with a flapper disc is probably the fastest way to remove material, and that is certainly the case. And here we're giving it a shot on prepping these little holes, and the material comes off quickly, the finish is excellent, the mess is just horrendous though. And so in my tiny little shed I'm probably going to be going back to my Bosch with better dust control, but we'll see. Anyway, gave it a shot here. Okay, well, I'm sorry about that fan noise, but I need that on to keep the camera from overheating. So, yeah, what are you gonna do? Okay, so clean place to work. Here is some 1708 that I cut off of the roll, and now I'm gonna start tracing it out. Now this knockoff of some electric scissors that you've maybe seen before. Wallow brand. I think this was like 40 bucks though. Let's give it a try. I used it to cut this out, so I know it works. You haven't seen it yet. That would go on the top of that one. I'm checking to make sure that the glass fits nicely inside the scarf, and since these holes are the same size, I should be able to use the padding. So let's cut out another one like that. I'm happy now with these first two pieces, the largest of the sizes. So to make the continually smaller pieces, I'm marking a line 1/2 of an inch inside my existing template. I'll cut this out and we'll keep doing this until we have all of our pieces cut. Well, at first I thought these electric scissors were a bit of a gimmick, but after using them for a while, I do have to say they really are a game changer. They keep all the fiberglass bundles nice and tight as you cut, so you have these really clean, accurate cuts. And I picked mine up with an extra fiberglass blade, and I can say it works great, so I'm really happy with it. We'll put a link to all of that in the description below. With all the fiberglass cut, it's time to do some cleanup, so a little vacuum and then a wipe down with clean acetone to make sure that we have maximum adhesion. All right, so it is the next day, and it is a nice cool morning for doing a little bit of work, and we are going to prep and fill these holes So I'm going to start by sealing up the bottoms of these holes. The small ones we'll just do with tape. The larger ones, we will use these little plastic pieces to try to give a nice flat surface. Here we go. Okay, so that's that one, and then the rest I'll do with tape. Let's go make it happen. Okay, I guess it's time to mix up some epoxy. If you're thinking this epoxy looks a little on the amber side, you're right. It is older, but it does not affect the strength. Okay, so this is the 105 with a fast hardener. It's about 68 degrees in here right now. And we're gonna add just a little bit of the 403 microfiber. The milled fibers give the resin a bit more body, and they promote adhesion, but they do not limit flow out like colloidal silica 406 would. So we're gonna give these a try. I like to put a little bit, paint a little bit on, give that some time to sort of soak in a bit. And getting this spread out and thin quickly will increase the working time. If it stays in this little pot, it probably only is good for 10 or 20 minutes or something. Okay, let's start with that. Now we'll start wetting out the glass here. Let's put another one in, orient the fibers a little differently. Now this one I'm going to place backwards so that the chopped strand is down. The chopped strand on the one side of the 1708 provides a nice mushy surface to conform to different curves and shapes, so I like to have that on the bottom of the laminate, but then I also like it on the top because it provides a good sacrificial layer if there is any sanding needed. So that's how I've oriented these three pieces. Now, as I'm going small patch to big patch, this is probably going to spark the endless debate of which is the preferred method, going large to small or small to large, and the resources that I've read seem to indicate that with epoxy it doesn't really matter, but I've decided to go with the small to large because that does keep the glass fibers oriented more or less straight throughout the composite part, as opposed to the large patch which would have them curl up around the edges. So to me that makes sense. The final step in this process is to install some peel ply, and this release fabric just helps create a really great surface for further work. Once you peel it off, all the excess resin soaks through, so it also contributes to the layup being just about the right mixture of glass to resin. So it's great stuff. Unfortunately, it is waste once the product is complete, which I don't love, so maybe we'll get out the sewing machine and turn it into some wallets or something. So let me know in the comments if you are interested in a used peel ply wallet. All right, so this holding tank, we're gonna remove this now. Just wanna have access to this space, give me a bit more room to work. Also, it will allow me to eventually remove this first bulkhead, which we've discovered has some problems. We're gonna remake it, but I do wanna leave it in place until we have the new core material down in the bow, because it has a nice arc, it provides the correct shape. So we'll use it to help support the bow, and I might need to make some more intermediate braces as we go up towards the front. We will see about that, I'll keep you posted. Here we go. Okay, so this fitting now is in the way, so we're gonna have to take this off to keep going. tank is free. With the forward holding tank now removed, which is on the other side of this bulkhead, it has me thinking, do I ever want to put it back in? Now, Antidote has two heads, which is actually kind of a fortunate, depending on how you want to look at it, maybe a fortunate position to be in. I was chatting with Aladino from Sailing Magic Carpet, and he was pointing out that I have an opportunity perhaps to install a composting head in one location and keep the standard marine head in another location. You kind of get maybe the best of both worlds. What I'm interested to know from people is, what's your experience with a composting head? Do you like them? Do they work well? You know, this forward head is interesting because it's on the center line, so it's either going to be great on both tacks or terrible on both tacks. It is significantly forward. It's only maybe 6 or 8 feet short of the bow, so it's probably going to feel more like a riding bull than a toilet, but let's see how that goes. So I'd love to know from you, if you have experience with these marine composting heads, what's the smell like? How does it handle the whole business? You know, are you happy? Would you do it again? Those are the things I'd like to know. I can get rid of a couple of through hulls and some holes in the deck if I get rid of it. So there is an attractive aspect to it for me, and I'm interested to hear from you guys what you think. So let me know in the comments. Thanks. These have all had a little bit of time now to cook up. They've been sitting for a couple of days. They're totally hard, so we're ready to pull the peel ply off. I want to put in another layer of 1708 across almost this whole piece to add a little bit of stiffness to it, and then we're going to try to put new core in, and hopefully if we can support it from below and then vacuum bag it up all together, that would be my best case scenario. We'll see how that goes. Let's get started. It's a very satisfying feeling, pulling that stuff off. Yeah, this one's got some high spots. Might have to knock it down a little bit. Some 36 grit paper with the Bosch in turbo mode helps to knock down these high spots. Now I'm working with a 5:1 epoxy. This is West System 105, and so you do need to be thinking about amine blush if you're not using peel ply. That's a waxy surface that forms, and you need to scrub that off with some soap and water before sanding. Otherwise you're spreading it all around, contaminating your surface. An extra layer of 1708 here will help to stiffen the bottom layer of glass. Now when it comes to the new core material tucking underneath these tabs at the bulwark, I have a little less than 1.5 inch of clearance. So even with a nominal 3/4 inch material, it's going to be a tight fit, so I don't want the glass to go all the way underneath these tabs. So I'm stopping it about 1.5 inches short on each side, and this will allow the new core material to slide past while still stiffening the deck. Up at the very bow, the glass is a little short, so we're adding in 2 more small sections to fill this in. We're just going to use butt joints here. An overlap would be stronger, sure, but it's going to add extra thickness, and we don't really need the extra strength since we have all this core material that's going to be added over top, and we'll make sure to stagger all these joints. All right, we're going to try to put a piece of glass down here now. It is hot in here today. This is saying 95 Fahrenheit, so if the speeds that they report for the resin hardeners are at typical room temperature around 75, what I read is that for every 18 degrees rise, you half the time that the resin will be open for and will cure for. That means I'm gonna have to really hurry. So we're gonna mix up a couple of batches, get it spread out as thin as I can, and then try to lay the glass down, get the next batch mixed, throw it on top, smooth everything out, and hopefully we do it in time. Let's give it a shot. This first piece of glass is about 1 square yard. I figure that's going to need roughly 40 ounces of resin to cover, and so I have 2 portions of 20 pumps of 105 I just needed to add 20 pumps of the hardener here. This is the slow hardener, and I'm going to add about 10% of the 403 milled fibers to get a bit more adhesion, and then we're off to the races here.
It was a hot summer's night. Lord, we couldn't close our eyes.
Back now with the second batch of resin, and this was pre-measured out. I just needed to add the catalyst and mix it up. If you have a helper that can keep bringing you up resin as you need it, that's even better. For me, I'm working alone today, and this is just the way I had to do it. You want to work with small batches so that you don't have the resin kick off in the cup. So this is the part where I'm supposed to be showing you how to use the fin roller to get all the air bubbles out, put your peel ply on, get a really nice finished part. So why am I looking all forlorn? Well, maybe you've already spotted the problem. It's the following morning after laying this section of 1708 down on the bottom skin, and it looks great. It came out really well. You know, being human is a really tough deal because the first layer I put on, I had forgotten to clean the bottom skin with acetone, and might have been okay to not have that step be a part of the process because it was all ground fiberglass. But I had ground that fiberglass down several weeks ago, and I've been stepping on it and moving around on it, kneeling on it, touching it with my greasy fingers. So I just didn't like that. So off camera, we re-prepared that surface. So I pulled all the glass off and let it cure up, cleaned all the blush off, and then abraded it a second time and put this new layer down. And I was able to do it pretty quickly the second time. And I hope it's one of those mistakes that you make one time. You know, it was a bit painful, cost me some time, a little bit of money. It was annoying. And let's hope that I remember now in the future to always wipe down when needed with the proper solvent like acetone. This seems like a good place to leave you for this week. Come back next week where I'll show you how that glass turned out, and I'm pretty happy with it after that fiasco that we went through. So I'm interested to hear from you. What would you have done in that same position? Would you have pulled that glass back up or just let it be the way that it was? Let me know in the comments. If you've enjoyed today's video, I would love it if you'd hit that like button for me. It really does help with the good old YouTube algorithm. It lets me know that you're enjoying these videos, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Now, if you'd like to join the community that supports this channel, we have started a Patreon for this effort, and joining that community gets you some background information, some behind the scenes footage. So if you're interested in supporting the work that I do and you'd like to see some behind the scenes stuff, that might be a great thing for you to join. And I'd like to thank the first 2 Patreons that have signed up. You know who you are, and I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you. All of the funding on Patreon goes to supporting the creation of these videos. Now, if you're new to the channel and would like to get caught up on the whole story from the very beginning, then I will put a link to the playlist in the description, and you can check that out, dive right in. I'd love to see you there. And if you are watching and you're not subscribed and you would like to be so you get more of these videos in your YouTube feed, then there is a button right down there-ish that you can click, and that'll take care of you. So thanks again for watching. See you in the next one. Very sensitive alarm. And probably the easiest way to install fiberglass, at least on YouTube, is to remove it and then show the footage in reverse. Oh, and you can be thankful that I removed all the fittings and made sure it was empty before we got the camera rolling. Hey, if you're still seeing this, that means that I'm including these stickers with all new Patreon memberships for a limited time. I don't know how long, maybe forever, we'll see. But right now, if you join the Patreon group, it's $5 a month. I'm gonna send you these 3 stickers. I don't care where you live, it could be Timbuktu, they're coming at you, handwritten note, let's do this.